What's up, bozos? It's me, Yanni, and welcome to a brand new video. So today, this isn't working, by the way, this is just a prop. So today I kind of wanted to just run through a few things about my brand Sweet Cream. I figured I've touched on it a little bit in the last couple of videos, and I just want to kind of like do a bit of a deep dive on the reason I created this brand, my purpose for it, the concepts behind it, the ideas that I wanted to really, I guess, engage in, and the conversations that I wanted to start. The main thing is that each character represents different elements of like queer identity, sexual health, and the queer experience. For example, one of the characters, Rushy, is like a little electric lamb, and he is kind of based on Rush, like the poppers. I don't know if I can say poppers on YouTube and am I monetized? No. But could I be one day? Probably also no. But that's irrelevant. The idea here is that I wanted to be not as bold with the character design, but bold with the ideas, and then subtle with the character design in a way that, if you look at the character and you see this cute little lamb, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but when you understand the concept behind him and the idea, then it all clicks in. So there's another character as well called Yu, who represents the undetectable equals untransmittable for people living with HIV. It's kind of a character that represents things like taking PrEP and HIV awareness and the stigma around that. So these types of things I really just wanted to kind of like dive into with this brand. On the surface, it is just a fun brand with like these 12 cute little characters that kind of give off the rubber hose vibe from like the 1930s, I think, like Mickey Mouse and Felix the Cat and that kind of vibe. I have always been obsessed with mascots and characters, and I guess having a really interesting, exciting character representing something, a brand or whatever. Mascots have always been kind of like red hot for me, so I wanted to kind of explore some things within that, and that's where this all happened. And I came up with the idea for Sweet Cream, I think it was like 2015 or 2016, and didn't really go anywhere with it. I knew that I wanted it to be kind of a little bit dirty, a little bit on the nose in terms of the content, but I think as I kind of like worked on it a little bit in like 2023, I was like, oh, actually I might have something here. And that's where I came up with the concepts for the characters. And the first one is Nutty. So he's a little pink fluffy character who actually initially was like way slimier in terms of the design, but basically Nutty is based on like safe sex. So he has like a little bow tie, and he's got little cream swirls on his head that were supposed to kind of like subtly represent a condom. Basically, yeah, I mean, I wanted him to be cute and pink and whatever, but there's some subtle hints there that he's based on cream. Anyway, so next down the line is my favorite character, Natty. He is a little blue dog, I guess. They're all kind of weird little monsters, but he is the representation of blue balls, also hinting on things like consent and testicular health. So he has two big ears, and they're kind of like balls. Some of the design elements are intentional, some of them are just to, whatever the character, like he has 4 arms, which doesn't really mean anything. It's just a design characteristic that I gave him, and it kind of stayed. He did also used to have 4 ears as well, but there was just too much going on with his head. So, so basically, he is the representation of, check your balls, testicular health, and in a full concept world, that is basically all the different elements that went into that character. And I think he's very sensitive and he's very cute, and there's elements about balls being sensitive and all of that. So he does represent all of that, and I think he is my little boy and I love him very much. The third character is Pinchy. So a lot of people think that her hands look like penises, and I understand that, but that is incorrect and incredibly wrong. She is based on nipples. So she's got some of the design elements, they're supposed to represent like a nipple, and her whole thing is about pleasure and experiencing pleasure and not having any shame around pleasure. I think a lot of people, especially like with religious upbringings, they find that like having pleasure is a bad thing and it's sinful and it's wrong to feel pleasure or seek pleasure or want pleasure. And I think that, it's a part of human psychology, it's a part of the experience of being alive, is to seek pleasure and to enjoy and experience pleasure. And not all people are sexual people. Some people are they don't experience pleasure in those types of things, but it doesn't necessarily just mean in a sexual way. I think you can experience joy and pleasure through many things in life. So that's kind of, other than the fact that there is obviously a sexual side to it, she's a bit of a flirt. That is kind of the basis of her character design and elements, and she's got a love heart face, so and kissy mouth, so there's something going on there. The fourth character, I think, I'll touch on Coochie, because I think Coochie was probably like the third or fourth character I ever designed for the brand, but I've always had like an obsession with like the cactus characters in TV shows, cartoons, things like that. I did actually design Coochie so long ago, which was actually going to be an in-world brand for Hark Z, which is my webcomic that I have been developing for a very long time. And Coochie, there was like a Coochie backpack and Coochie cigarettes and all these other, things that I wanted to do with the character. And then when I was, pulling everything together for the brand in 2023, he kind of just fit in perfectly. And Coochie, I don't know if it's super obvious, but he's based on a cucumber, not a cactus. And his whole, I guess, vibe is about like safe anal play and finding pleasure in anal play and being prepared. And I have a design that's basically just called Plan Anal, and it goes through some different things about if you want to play safely and carefully and comfortably, then there's some things that you might want to think about. So then the fifth character that I want to talk about is the winner of the popularity contest for 2024. He is a naughty little boy, and his name is Tobacco Mahogany. Tobacco Mahogany initially was kind of supposed to be like the bad version of Nutty, who's like this bright, fresh, fun little character made of cream. And Tobacco Mahogany is kind of like the foil to that. So he was supposed to be the bad boy. However, I think he's really cute. He always has a cigarette in his mouth. And his concept is a little loose. I guess the idea was with the design and the colors was that he was representing like a pack of cigarettes, like the old Marlboro cigarettes with like the white and the red. That was kind of like the color scheme that I had in mind when I was coming up with it. And he, I guess, is because he's like a bit of a bad boy and he's always smoking. And, in the queer community, there's a lot of people that smoke cigarettes. It's just a part of nightlife and the world. And, some people use it as a coping mechanism. There's a lot of queer nurses that smoke. I think, it's something to be said about being smart about your health and being careful with what you put in your body, but also like, experiencing things, and not to take away from, people that have certain coping mechanisms. To be fair though, I think like there is an element to his character that is about the whole like smoking kills campaign, and because he's such a bad boy, he's going against like what, is the recommended health. So his concept is a bit loose. I just wanted to have kind of that like bad character in there that, you know, in the cartoons, they were the ones that would always be fighting the main character and kind of like a villain. But everyone loves a villain, so, you know, and it's quite obvious that everyone loves Tobacco Mahogany. So congratulations to him for winning the popularity contest of 2024. Great job, my son. Character number 6 is probably gonna have to be Yu. So Yu is the character I mentioned earlier who represents the U equals U. So the undetectable equals untransmittable. The character itself, you know, represents like the equal sign. But yeah, I guess because there's a lot of stigma around people living with HIV and the transfer of AIDS and HIV and, you know, the stigma around it, you know, there can be a lot of problems, I guess, in the online community with the apps and, you know, people living with HIV that don't get treated very well. And there's a lot of, I guess, mistreatment around these people that are just living their life. And we're living in 2025, man. Like, people got to educate themselves, and I think UU was kind of designed to be just like that talking point for being like, yeah, let's talk about people living with HIV and, you know, what kind of treatment they get and how to respect them and you know, that sort of thing.
Hi.
Character number 7. Nutty, Natty, Pinchy, Coochie, Tobacco Mahogany, UU 7 is Rushy. So again, I spoke about Rushy before, but Rushy is like this little electric lamb. The idea was based on Rush, the Poppers. He likes to go fast, he likes to skate, you know, similar concepts out there exist, but, you know, one of his eyes is gone, same as Tobacco Mahogany is missing an eye because he was going so fast that, you know, he something got in his eye and, you know, it destroyed it. It's so dark, man. That's so dark. Anyway, so little design details like that. He's got a little lightning bolt on his chest, and yeah, his wool makes electricity. Character number 8 would have to be Angel of Death. So Angel of Death is a bit of a sad character, a little bit of a Debbie Downer. I think there's like an element to Angel of Death that is really important to note. Angel of Death is very much the character that is focused on queer history, and, you know, has the pink triangle and the suffering that the queer community has been through over the decades, and you know the concentration camps, and there's so many things in queer history that have shaped where we are today. And I think that Angel of Death is supposed to be kind of like a bit of a darker character, but to remind us that there is queer history that we need to respect and understand, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with Angel of Death. It's pretty rough name, and, you know, the character is usually sad or grumpy or you know, has a lot to say. So that's the kind of idea was that, you know, we should be standing up for our own rights, and we should be fighting for things, and we need to consider and respect our queer history. So the 9th character is Gashi. Now, Gashi is based on a conversation that I had with a friend about dental dams and female condoms, and a story that she told me. I came up with her as a bit of a nod to that, and the fact that, you know, there is female contraception, and it should be used if it can, and you know, female sexual health is really important as well. I think a lot of guys take for granted that, you know, we don't get things like UTIs frequently, and there's a lot of things that can happen during sexual interactions that maybe we don't notice as much, but women tend to have a lot more sensitive experiences when it comes to things like this. So, you know, I wanted Gashi to be kind of a bit of a rough and tumble girl. She's definitely into other women, but she is, yeah, she's based basically on the female contraception. So dental dams and diaphragm, that vibe. And then we move into the three characters that I created last. So firstly, I'll talk about Pambi. He's a little non-binary, bisexual panda character. That's pretty much it. I just wanted something that was kind of like a teddy bear to be one of the characters because I like the shape and I want to, make them all cute. And Pambi kind of represents the space between identity and sexuality, and the flag is represented on their little inflatable thing that they're wearing around their neck. And they've got the black and white to kind of represent identity and the duality and things. So that's Pambi. All right, so second last character is Dolly-chan. She is a transgender icon. Thank you very much. I really wanted to develop a character that represented the trans flag, trans identity. I'm not trans myself, so I can't speak on that experience, but I just wanted to create a character that represented that part of the community, because as a gay man and as a gay person in the community, trans people are really mistreated, even from other queer people, and things that are happening in America with, I guess, trans people being erased completely, their gender markers being removed, and it's a pretty rough world out there for trans people. And I know trans women especially are the most targeted community. They're the most targeted people on earth for aggressive behavior and murder and violence. So it is a big and really important thing for me. I want to represent that in my art and in my brands, and it definitely is something that needs to be talked about constantly. And as queer people, we should be supporting our trans brothers and sisters and non-binary friends and family. So definitely that's the big story behind why I wanted to bring Dolly-chan into the roster. And I think she's super cute, and she's very she's cute as hell, man. Anyway, and last character is probably one of my other favorites, to be honest. I think just the shape of the character and the colors and stuff, maybe I'm just into blue. That sounds so mask, but the last character I wanted to talk about is, I don't know if you can see him there, but Kinstashi. He is the representation of the kink community, and I guess kink and fetishes and things. If you're a queer person and you've ever been on any of the apps, a lot of the time people will ask, what are you into? That's just such a common question. And Kinstashi is kind of the representation of kinks and fetishes, and being comfortable and respectful with other people's kinks and fetishes. Exploring your own kinks and fetishes. I think people tend to get a little scared. I know for myself, I've been scared to explore certain things in my life, and I think the idea behind Kinstashi was that, it's an encouragement to just step out of the box sometimes, but be respectful. Kink shaming is absolutely not a vibe. It ain't cool. And he also kind of he represents some of the design elements as well of the old Rubber Hose cartoons, probably better than most of the characters. I think he's got the big nose and the mustache. He's got kind of wonky arms with little hands, and yeah, I love his proportions. I think it's really fun to play with this big chest and big shoulders and then tiny little legs. So yeah, that's the character roster. There's a lot going on with each character. They all have different colors and represent different things, but I have been releasing, t-shirts and different products and things, stickers. I did have a calendar last year, and if you know me, you know that I am absolute hot garbage at getting things done on time when they are my own projects. So last year I managed to get a calendar out by February. I was only a month late. That's fine. I gave them to my friends and it was great. This year I started the calendar, I think in June or July. Last year, 2024. And it's still not done. I tried so many times to get the design elements right. I thought I was on a roll, got like 6 of the months or 7 of the months done, and then changed my mind. And then I tried to upload stuff onto the website that I was using to print the calendar. And anyway, it all just, we're gonna move on. We're not gonna do the calendar, and that's okay. So this year is a non-calendar year. And there will be other products that I do. Feel free to check the online store. We're doing market soon, and I've got an exhibition coming up as well with the plushies. It's just a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully, you know, this gives you a good understanding of the purpose and the concepts behind the characters and the brand. You know, if you like it and if you're excited about it, you know, please feel free to support it in any way you can. It is just a side hustle for me. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time and I've been really excited about. So yeah, get on board, jump in, grab a t-shirt, grab a hoodie. You know, there's a bunch of different ways you can support the brand. And yeah, feel free to jump in on the comment section and tell me what you think. If you have a favorite character already, if you have any ideas or suggestions for stuff I can make with them. I guess the initial idea was kind of like a Hello Kitty, you know, mascot characters for a brand, but they have a bit more purpose. You know, each character represents something more, and a lot of their taglines are based on, you know, what they represent. So anyway, that's probably about it. I've waffled on for absolute ages. Yeah, feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to leave a comment in the comment section, I would absolutely love that. Support the algorithm, support me. And yeah, I guess I will see you in the next one. I guess.